This
Thank
is
you.
Kathleen Drew, Chair of the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, calling tonight's meeting to order. I apologize for not being there with you in person. I have a bad cold and cough and didn't think it was wise to share it with the others. So I will be with you virtually throughout these two hearings. The first meeting we're having tonight is the informational public hearing for Wallula Gap. This, as required by RCW 8050-090 and WAC 463-26025. At this meeting, FSEC staff and the applicant will introduce themselves, as well as the Council for the Environment and Assistant Attorney General appointed by the Washington Attorney General, and will explain their duties. The applicant and the staff will both make presentations. Following the presentations, the public will be invited to provide comments. We will allow 3 minutes per person, and Judge Dupree will be managing that part of the meeting with the public comments. This will be followed by the land use consistency hearing, which will begin at 7 p.m. or earlier if the informational public hearing ends before 7 p.m. So with that, Ms. Grantham, would you call the roll?
Certainly. Department of Commerce, Department of Ecology, Department of Fish and Wildlife,
Mike Livingston here.
Department of Natural Resources,
Lenny Young, present.
Utilities and Transportation Commission.
Stacy Brewster, present.
For Benton County, we have Adam File. Adam File is present. Administrative Law Judge Travis Dupree.
Present.
And do we have our Assistant Attorney Generals online, John Thompson? I will move on to FSEC staff. In person, we have Amy Hofmeyer, Sean Green,
Present.
and John Barnes.
Present.
And do we have anyone available for the Council for the Environment?
Yuri Carroll, present.
Mr. Carroll, could you explain to the group what your role is?
Of course. Well, it's statutorily laid out in RCW 8050-080, and basically it's to represent the public and its interest in protecting the quality of the environment. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's comments and gathering evidence in support of the protection of the environment with these projects. And yeah.
And would you provide your contact information should people be interested in reaching out to you?
Yes, of course. I will. I can type that into a message box or however.
Into chat?
Chat box, yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to the introduction of One Energy Renewables. If you would introduce your team and then proceed with your project presentation.
Thank you, Chair Drew. My name is Nathan Stotler. I'm an Associate Director for Project Development at One Energy Renewables. I'm here with my colleague Tanner Gillespie, a Manager for Project Development, and Aaron Lynch, an Associate on our Project Development team. And with that, I think, yeah, if we have a slideshow, I can start the presentation.
One moment, we are working with tech to get that up.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. As I said, my name is Nathan Stotler, an Associate Director with One Energy Renewables. My team and I are here tonight to introduce you to our Wallula Gap Solar Project, which is located right here in Benton County. A quick agenda for the presentation tonight. I'm going to start out by taking some time to introduce my team and our company, and then we'll move into introducing the project and discussing the work that's been done developing it to date. And we can end with questions and move into public comments. So One Energy is a Washington-based developer of solar energy and battery storage projects. We were founded 15 years ago in Seattle, and we've since grown to establish offices in Portland, Boulder, Madison, and Washington, D.C. In that time, we've developed and sold over 1.2 gigawatts of solar projects across 120 projects. And of those, One Energy has built or is currently building 270 megawatts across 47 projects. We also currently have over 350 megawatts of solar projects under development in Washington State, and that's spread across 9 individual projects. As I mentioned, the team working on the project is all here today, including myself, Tanner, and Aaron. And the 3 of us are based out of One Energy's Boulder office. One Energy prides itself in its strategy for siting solar projects. We select carefully targeted project sites that are both low impact and high benefit for the land, the landowner, and the community. Some of the key factors that we look for in siting projects through this strategy are working in a market that needs renewable energy, such as the Pacific Northwest, finding land that is near transmission infrastructure that has available capacity to take more power, sites that have buildable topography, good access, and minimal environmental conflicts, such as wetlands, wildlife, and cultural resources. We also work very diligently to find sites that help us work alongside the agricultural economy to work to not displace ag from high-value farmland. Wallula Gap is actually One Energy's second project that we are working to permit through FSEC. Our first project was the 80 megawatt Goose Prairie Solar Project, which had its site certificate signed by the governor in late 2021 and is now under construction in Yakima County. So with that, we can move into talking about our project. Wallula Gap is located in the south central part of Benton County, just north of State Highway 14, between Patterson and Plymouth, on land that One Energy is leasing from Agri Northwest. Some details about the project here. Yeah, 4 miles northwest of Plymouth, between Plymouth and Patterson. The landowners are farmland reserve, and the land is managed by Agri Northwest. That site control is obtained through a long-term land lease agreement that we signed on December 1st of 2021. The zoning for the land is GMAAD. The land use currently is uncultivated pasture and agricultural operations. The utility interconnection will be through both Benton PUD and Bonneville Power Administration. The project size is 60 megawatts AC and solar with an optional 60 megawatt 4-hour or 240 megawatt hour battery storage. System type is single axis tracking, ground mounted solar photovoltaic that's projected to produce just over 137,000 megawatt hours of energy per year, which is enough to power 13,200 average homes. And our projected currently online date would be the end of the year 2026. A couple other things I didn't have on the slide here. The project life span is expected to be about 30 to 40 years. And One Energy is currently in negotiations to sell the power generated by the project to a public utility district in Washington State, helping to ensure that the benefits of renewable energy are going to stay in rural Washington. So One Energy arrived at this piece of land after the robust land siting exercise that I described a few slides ago. It has all the things that we look for in a site. It's flat, it's near some good transmission infrastructure. It's currently uncultivated and unirrigated and has very few neighbors nearby. You can see the orange shapes here. These are the portions of the land that we will be developing for solar. The irregular shapes are a pretty clear indicator of one of the things that we think makes this a great site for solar, which is that the land is not currently being used for crop production. We're working outside of the areas that are currently being irrigated and cultivated. It's land that's been highly disturbed over the years by ag adjacent activities, including a gravel pit and a disused landing strip. The owners have attempted to irrigate and farm the land in the past, but found that they could get higher crop yield using their water on other parcels. Since then, the land has been vacant and used only for cattle grazing. In addition to this, the site is also not high quality habitat. It's dominated by non-native plants and noxious weeds. 2 small wetlands have been found on the site, and those wetland areas are planned to be avoided by our development. There are three different area definitions that you'll find in our permit application, and I wanted to run through them quick, just so that we're all very clear on what we're talking about when we say these terms. First, the blue outline here are the parcel boundaries. So this is just the legal definition of the land that's owned by Farmland Reserve. You know, we approached Farmland Reserve about working with them, and they pointed us to these parcels. As you can see by the orange shape, which you saw again a couple slides ago, the project area extent, we're working very diligently to avoid all of the irrigated land that's on the parcel. So again, only working on the vacant, non-irrigated and non-cultivated land. The project area extent is the area within which the solar project will be built. The project will not cover the full project area extent, but it will fall within that area. And then the third term that we have is the facility area. So the full facility area sits within the project area extent. It is slightly smaller than it, but by permitting the full project area extent, we're able to do some final micrositing as we wrap up final environmental studies and geotechnical work on the parcel to make sure that we're using the best possible land. A quick run through the due diligence activities that have been completed on the site so far. I've talked about the condition of the land and why we think it's suitable for solar. And this is sort of the full list of due diligence activities and consultations that we've gone through to determine that. So phase 1 ESA has been completed. Land surveys are completed, and we'll do a few more as we get down to finalizing our facility area. Wetland delineation has been completed, and consultations with the Department of Ecology are ongoing. A wildlife and habitat survey has been completed. Consultations with WDFW are ongoing. An initial cultural survey has been completed. We're currently consulting with DHP, FSEC, and several tribal organizations to conduct a follow-up survey to ensure that we have adequate coverage of the site. Glare analysis has been completed. FAA analysis, DOD consultation, WashDOT, and Benton County Public Works have all been completed. Still working with the County Noxious Weed Board and the Fire Marshal to make sure that our very final plans before we go to construction are up to their standards. As I mentioned a bit earlier, One Energy is also increasingly working to ensure that its projects work alongside and integrate seamlessly into the agricultural economies of the communities that host them. One of the biggest ways in which we're doing this is by implementing sheep grazing underneath our solar projects. As you can see in this photo from One Energy's Stromlin solar project in western Wisconsin. Sheep grazing is a means of ensuring that the land remains in direct agricultural use while also adding the use of solar energy generation. One Energy has been consulting with a local sheep rancher that's interested in grazing the Wallula Gap project. Partnerships like these ensure that even more of the money and jobs from the project are going to stay in the local community, while also making sure that the land stays healthy. An additional alternative means of dual use solar instead of grazing would be planting native grasses and pollinator habitat underneath the panels. While this doesn't produce a direct agricultural product from the land, it has been shown to have a multitude of other benefits for surrounding agricultural operations, including increased crop yield from greater numbers of pollinators that are supported on the land. It also creates higher quality wildlife habitat, increases runoff infiltration, reduces soil erosion, and restores the soil. So between these two options, one or both of them, One Energy is aiming to make sure that our project really does take care of the land and the people that work on it. So a quick timeline for the project here. We are planning for permitting and development of the project to be finalized by the end of the year 2025, with the project entering construction in early 2026, wrapping up construction and entering into service by the end of 2026, with the operations and maintenance period starting in 2027. And finally, we have here a rendering of what the project is expected to look like for passersby on State Highway 14, which runs just south of the south border of the project. That concludes my part of the presentation. I can open up for questions or turn it over to public comment.
Are there any questions from council members before we go to public comment? Or actually, the FSEC presentation is next. Council members?
Chair Drew, can you please repeat yourself? We didn't hear you coming in for the first half of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Are there questions from council members? Okay, seeing none, we will now move to, thank you very much for your presentation. And we will now move to Ms. Hofgemeyer, I believe, who's doing the presentation on FSEC's process.
Thank you, Chair Drew. Actually, staff member John Barnes will be giving the presentation, so I'm going to hand the floor over to him.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barnes.
Welcome, everybody. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming to participate this evening. My name is John Barnes. I am the siting specialist for FSEC. And I'll be giving a short presentation on the FSEC process for those who are unfamiliar with our agency. A little bit of the history of the FSEC agency. FSEC was created in 1970 for the siting of thermal power plants. The intent was to create a one-stop permitting agency for large energy facilities. FSEC is comprised of state and local members who review each application before voting to make a council recommendation to the governor. If recommending approval, the package to the governor includes a draft site certification agreement, or SCA, which defines all pre-construction, construction, and operation plans. If approved by the governor office, the decision preempts other state or local regulations. FSEC is comprised of members from several different state agencies. The chairperson is appointed by the governor, and there are standing members from 5 other agencies appointed by those agencies to the site to sit on the council. The current council is made up of Chairwoman Kathleen Drew, Eli Levitt from the Department of Ecology, Mike Livingston from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, Elizabeth Osborne from the Department of Commerce, Lemmy Young from the Department of Natural Resources, Stacy Brewster from the Utilities and Transportation Commission. There are additional agencies that may elect to appoint a council member during the review of a new application. These agencies are the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Health, and the Military Department. The local county shall also appoint a council member for the review of a new application. For this application, the Benton County appointed council member is Adam File. If a proposal is located at a port, the port may appoint a non-voting member. Multiple energy generation facilities fall under FSEC's jurisdiction. Some projects, thermal power plants, that are less than 350 megawatts, and nuclear generation for the purpose of generating electricity are required to be sited through FSEC, while others, such as wind, solar, green hydrogen, storage, or clean energy manufacturing, can opt in at any size. Transmission lines greater than 115 kilovolts can also opt in, while lines greater than 500 kilovolts are required, and thresholds for pipelines and refineries that may be sited through FSEC are found in the Revised Code of Washington, or RCW 80.50.060. Here's a map of the facilities that are certified or have applied for certification under FSEC's jurisdiction. You can see marked in green that there are 6 operating facilities, including 2 natural gas facilities, 1 nuclear facility, 1 solar facility, and 2 wind facilities. The blue marks indicate the 4 additional facilities that are approved but are not yet constructed. The clear circle is 1 facility in the process of decommissioning. FSEC is currently reviewing 7 projects marked by yellow, including the Wallula Gap solar application proposal, which brings us here this evening. Here's a flow chart showing the general process an applicant will go through when they submit an application to FSEC. There are green arrows on the chart that indicate specific milestones in the process where the council and staff seek public input. You can see that there are multiple processes that happen concurrently when FSEC is reviewing an application. There is a land use hearing and an adjudicative process outlined on the far left, a State Environmental Policy Act or SEPR process outlined in the middle, and the third process, or on the right, involves identifying and preparing applicable environmental permits. All these processes ultimately feed into the council's recommendations made to the governor. Where an adjudication is required following the land use consistency hearing, an order is issued to commence proceedings and invite or initiate intervention. Here, members of the public wishing to participate in the adjudication must identify themselves and their issues, and there are pre-hearing conferences through which parties are granted intervention status and issues are identified. Exhibits and testimony are prohibited and cross-examination is conducted, after which the council looks at all the information in the adjudication record and deliberates. Finally, the council develops an order establishing their findings on the fact and conclusion of law from the information provided throughout these proceedings. For every project proposed, a SEPR review is performed. When a determination of significance and a decision to prepare an environmental impact statement or EIS is made, public comment are taken on the scope of the EIS. After public comment for scoping, the SEPA responsible official determines the scope of the EIS. A draft EIS is prepared and issued with a minimum 30-day public comment period, after which the final EIS is prepared and released. In some instances, a determination of non-significance, a DNS, or mitigated determination of non-significance, MDNS, is issued. If the SEPA responsible official determines that a project meets the criteria of a DNS or an MDNS, an EIS is not required. In this process, the determination is noticed to the public, and there is a minimum 15-day public comment period on an MDNS, while a DNS requires no comment period. Following the conclusion of the separate avenues of application review, the council develops its recommendation to the governor, tying together the information brought forth throughout the application review process. FSEC is also an issuing agency for any applicable environmental permits a facility may require, including water quality, air quality permits as they may apply. The permits are identified in the final package with the council's recommendation to the governor. At the conclusion of the council's review of an application, a recommendation is made to the governor to either approve or reject the application. This initiates, a 60-day window within which the governor will then either approve the application, reject the application, or remand the application back to the council for reconsideration. Any application that is rejected by the governor is a final decision for that application. If an application is approved by the governor, FSEC then has oversight over the environmental compliance for the life of the facility through decommissioning. FSEC has standing contracts with applicable state agencies that assist in the monitoring and enforcement of conditions either in the site certification agreement, identified permits, or EIS or MDNS. FSEC's enforcement authority extends to the issuance of any penalties as they may apply. As previously mentioned, FSEC oversees facilities under its jurisdiction through decommissioning. Prior to the start of a construction of approved projects, an initial site restoration plan is required. Then, at the end of the life of the facility prior to the start of decommissioning, a detailed site restoration plan is required. These plans must be reviewed and approved by the council. Project must also provide financial assurance, for the decommissioning in the event that the project is no longer able to complete the process. Assuming the project decommissions while still under full control of the developer, these costs would be paid by the certificate holder directly. This wraps up my presentation for the evening. Before I end, I would like to recommend everyone how they would submit comments for the proposal. You may send in written comments to email to comments@fsec.wa.gov. You can also send them by postal mail to our office at 621 Woodland Square Loop, P.O. Box 43172, Olympia, Washington, 98504-3172, or by phone at 360-664-1345. When FSEC is in an active comment period associated with public milestone comments, comments may also be submitted to our online comment database at https://comments.fsec.wa.gov. All comments received, regardless of timing or method of delivery, will be saved with the project record and available to the council and staff for review.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Have you concluded your presentation there?
I have, Chair Drew.
Okay. We will now move to the comment period for our public informational meeting. Judge Dupree will be calling the names of those who are going to testify, and Andrea Grantham, I believe, will be putting up your time on the screen so that you can see how much time remains.
This is Ms. Grantham. We will have our tech person put up the time on the screen, but you will be able to see about how much time you have left.
Okay.
Thank you. And go ahead, ALJ Dupree.
Thank you, Ms. Grantham. All right, and then let me just briefly introduce myself. My name is Judge Travis Dupree. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, and I've been an administrative law judge for the last 13 years. My role here is to monitor the conversation and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. And we do need to limit comments to 3 minutes, so everyone does have an opportunity to speak tonight. When your time is up, I will be interrupting you. And then also, if you're unable to say everything in the time limit, or you couldn't provide comments, just please provide them to FSEC in writing, and we'll gladly review them. And then finally, let's just keep our comments respectful and relevant to the issue at hand. But having said all that, I believe we are ready to begin. Ms. Grantham.
Thank you, Judge. I will be going ahead and calling on people for the public comment section. For this portion, I will call upon those who signed up to speak in order of sign up. If a person signed up to comment in person is not present to do so, I will move on to the next designated speaker. If you are calling in by phone, remember you can use *6 to mute and unmute yourself. Just one moment. The first person I have signed up to speak is Rylan Grimes. Please proceed to the mic in the center aisle.
And then this is Judge Dupree. What I'm going to do is have you, Mr. Grimes, go ahead and state your first and last name and then spell it so we have a clear record.
Sure. It's Rylan Grimes, RYLANGRIMES.
Thank you. And you can go ahead and proceed.
Okay. My name is Rylan Grimes. I'm a representative with IBW Local 112, which is the electricians union in the area. We represent about 1,400 electricians, and we support this project for the green energy that'll bring the area and the jobs. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andrew Waddell.
And then I'll have you state your first and last name and spell it. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Waddell. That's ANDREW WADDELL. I'm also going to keep it short and sweet. I'm an apprentice at IBW 112. I've worked on a couple solar projects in the area, and I've been a resident of Benton County for 27 years. I know we've always been prideful of the energy generation due to the dams and nuclear facility in the area. And I'd be happy to see more clean energy come to the area. So yeah, I support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Russell Walker.
And then Mr. Walker, just state your first and last name and spell it.
Okay, my name is Russell Walker, RUSSELL WALKER. I'm gonna keep it short also. I speak on behalf of the operating engineers Local 302. We support the Wallula Gap Solar Project and the good paying jobs it will provide for the local communities. The solar project will also provide an additional source of energy for our local power grid. After completion of construction, the solar project will continue to employ a local workforce in a maintenance capacity, once again providing good paying jobs to our local communities. Thank you for consideration of support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kendall Kastner.
All right. Hello.
And Mr. Kastner, just remember to state your name and spell it.
Of course. Kendall Kastner. KENDELCASTNER. I'm an apprentice with Local 112 as well. I've worked a solar project down in Lexington, Oregon, and it was where I got my start, and it provided me with good money to support myself and my family, and I was grateful to be able to be a part of green energy being produced in Pacific Northwest. There were things I'd like to see that could be improved upon, and I'm happy to see that making multi-use of the land is in the works, especially when it comes to the mono agriculture we have in our area. It can lead to some negative benefits or negative effects on the crop health, and land regeneration should be a huge part of our area, and I'm glad to see that's part of it. Hope to be out there. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jens Rasmussen.
Mr. Rasmussen, go ahead and state your name and spell it.
Jens Rasmussen, JENS RASMUSSEN. I'm here on behalf of the landowner and operator, Farmland Reserve and Agro Northwest. We have submitted a letter in support of this project. I won't repeat everything stated in the letter, but just for the purposes of this hearing, we have operated the farm area here for a little over 53 years, and that many people have grown up on the farm and retired on the farm. We're very cautious when we look to partners like One Energy for solar. We appreciate that we are first and foremost farm investors and farm operators. And we are very cautious about taking any property out of farm production for any other purpose. And we've looked at this site, a site that we have historically attempted to irrigate, and have found a better use for higher quality soils, better production on other lands that we own, and feel like this is a great fit to be able to be the best use of this piece of property within our farm area. And we are appreciative of One Energy's efforts to balance the needs of the agriculture community and ensure there's no detrimental impact, as well as how well they have been in coordinating with all of the various other entities involved in mitigating any of the negative effects. So we support this project, and for more details, you can see our letter of support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Victor Mendoza.
And then Mr. Mendoza, just remember to state your name and spell it.
Victor Mendoza, VICTOR MENDOZA. I am a local 112 apprentice. I fully support this project. Been living Tri-Cities all my life, and with the amount of green renewable energy we have, I feel like this will be beneficial to the area.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Leistrith.
Go ahead and state your name and spell.
My name is Chris Leistrith, Chris, K-R-I-S, Leistrith, L-E-I-S-T-R-I-T-Z. Person that's been in the community for all my life. I really much so appreciate the efforts to go into and develop these solar projects or renewable energy projects throughout the Tri-Cities and the local surrounding area. Very much to support the working for a clean energy grid within the area as well and the surrounding area. Also was really impressed with the idea that it's already being de facto implemented into this project, the battery storage aspect of the project, in order to help to curb some of the intrinsic faults of solar. So really do appreciate the time and energy that's gone into thinking about this project and working it out. Really do appreciate it, and we're excited to see more renewable energy come to the Tri-Cities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jim Atkins.
Jim Atkins, J-I-M-A-T-K-I-N-S. My questions regard around the solar panels, the heat projected off of that. You know, how much does that impact the environment from 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot on up? How much does that increase the temperature? And then that increased temperature, how does that affect the airflow above the air currents? How is that affected? Also, I heard rumors where bird deaths occur because they fly over these, and because of the heat, they die. Fire protection. I know you said you're working with the fire department, but will you be providing any fire equipment to circumvent any large fires that come out there? Because that is a rural area, you know. And do they need more fire trucks? Do they need special equipment to fight a fire? You know, you talk about grazing. How many grazing allotments are there? Because nothing's being grazed now, maybe. If what I understand, and we hear stories about sheep, how many sheep can be under there, and how much of this is subsidized by the government, this event. And EFC oversight of environmental during the construction, is that an individual on site all the time? And or are you just going to show up every once a month and check the oversight? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is the end of our signed up speakers. Judge Dupree, it is at your discretion if you'd like to open the floor to those in the room who may have a comment, who were not able to sign up or did not initially sign up. The 3-minute limit on speaking will still apply. For those attending online, you can raise your hand to indicate if you would like to speak if the judge does elect to do this. And those dialing in can use *5. So, Judge Dupree.
Thank you, Ms. Grantham. And then if there's anybody that hasn't signed up and wishes to speak, now's your opportunity to provide a comment.
Jim Atkins, I'll step up again. Jim, J-I-M-A-T-K-I-N-S. I do not think this meeting was very well advertised that this was going to occur. I only found out about it today, this morning at 9:30. And so I don't know how much the community has. And the other thing I'll say, in the event that somebody decides they need to talk more than 3 minutes, why do you just because people allow 3 minutes, other entities, maybe somebody can speak for 4 minutes and not 3, and before you pound the gavel and tell them they have to sit down. That's all I have.
Thank you. And then was there anybody else that wanted to make a comment? And then go ahead and state your first and last name and spelling.
Edward Reichel, EDWARDRYKIEL. Dana Ward is the president of the Lower Columbia Basin Audubon Society, and he couldn't be here tonight because this is the monthly meeting, the chapter. So he enlisted me to come and represent the Lower Columbia Basin Audubon Society. We have been on the site and we have evaluated it, and we would be submitting a letter after we have a chance to review what WDFW has said about it. From what we have seen on the site, we would generally support this project. There is a cow-calf operation on there right now, which is serving to feed coyotes, among other animals like ravens, for example. There's not much bird habitat. And as I said, Lower Columbia Basin Audubon will be submitting a letter generally in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. And then here, Ms. Grantham, was there anybody online or in Teams that or indicated they wanted to speak?
We have no raised hands.
Okay. All right, and then anybody else that hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet, I'd like to make a comment. I believe that is all for the comment portion then.
And since this, again, is Chair Drew, since we have completed this portion of the meeting, of the informational meeting, we will adjourn until 6:30. And then we will start our environmental land use hearing earlier than the 7 o'clock time, as also said in our notice. If this was to be completed before 7 o'clock, we would start the environmental hearing. So with that, let's take a 15-minute break, and perhaps there are people who had questions who can get some of those questions answered in the meantime. And we will come back, excuse me, at 6:30 for the land use hearing. Thank you.